My freaking tablet is being so goofy. No matter which way I turn the screen, it puts me upside down. Like every time I hold on. Okay, we got it. All right, so I apologize. I usually try to keep my kids contained during the podcast. It's a little bit more professional than the lives, But because of the situation, we're traveling and we're in a new house and they've been in the car all day, it's just really not being a thing. So I apologize. Please just bear with me. Okay, we're live everywhere. All right. So, Mystic, usually I give people like a chance to write a little bio to introduce themselves, but because I just sent you the guest agreement and the way everything's been so hectic, I just completely slipped my mind. So I'm just gonna let you take over and let you start wherever it starts for you. If it starts in childhood, in your addiction, wherever it begins, just gonna go. I take notes as we go. I'll ask questions as they pop up, and then at the end, if we have time, we'll go back and I'll ask some more questions.
Okay. You can just do the introduction however you want to. You know about me.
Came here, but no one heard me because it was me. I just said tonight that we have Mystic. So Mystic is a member of my TikTok family. So I'm loving bringing TikTok to my podcast because I'm getting to know you guys so much better. And so I'm really excited to hear your story. I do know a little bit, obviously, from TikTok. So Mystic has recently lost her son to the disease of addiction. So she's really going through that as well as fighting for her own life and her own recovery. And she has recently moved states to be with her family. She got a job, but she's trying to start. She's dealing with some health issues that's kind of complicating that process. But her bosses are being super cool about it. So, I'm just going to let you take over now, and you can just kind of start and give your testimony and your journey, share your journey, and I will take notes, and we will go from there. Just you have a conversation, just like on the lives.
So my original name that I was born with, my name is Teresa. I'm the oldest of 3 kids, the middle of 5. I don't know my older sister and my older brother. I grew up in a little town called Osawatomie, Kansas. When I was 17, we ended up packing up everything and moving to Colorado, where I grew up. I met my first husband there. That's where my addiction comes into play. I think I was 19 when I met him, and I was married to him within 2 years after meeting him. He is the biological father of my 2 youngest boys. My other 3 children are adopted. I have 3 boys, 2 girls. Where to start? I was, I think, 21, 22 when I had my first biological son, 2012. At that time, my first husband was working a lot. I stayed at home. I took care of the kids. He was very abusive. He would, this is where I might start crying. He would lock me in cabinets, or not cabinets, closets. He would, I think everybody knows what speedballing is. He would speedball. He got upset one day because of me watching my cats, my dad's cats, for him and my mom. He came home, got very angry. At this time, I didn't know I was pregnant with my youngest. But he ended up banging my head into the ground 17 times. The whole right side of my face was shattered. Broken nose, cracked jaw, broken eye socket. I had cauliflower ear. I have a bald spot on the back of my head, which I hate, absolutely hate. All of this, and more. He broke my nose. He broke 7 ribs, my wrist, cracked my forearm, cracked my elbow, all while my oldest son was in my arms. My son got away in time and got to go next door, and he called my sister and my dad. And my sister and my dad came, and my son was running back into the house. And I guess my ex-husband had tackled my dad on the bedroom. My sister ended up taking my son to the neighbors, having my neighbor watch my son. She ended up coming back in. Instead of checking on me first, she went straight for my dad and helped my dad, and got my ex-husband detained until the cops got there, and then they came and checked on me. She froze. I can't hear you.
Connection went crazy because I was hitting off my phone's hotspot, so I thought I could connect to the Wi-Fi here without it messing up, but it just messed us all up. So the last thing I was that he got upset for watching your dad's cats, and that's last thing I got for
So yeah, he got mad. He went and did his thing in the bathroom, came out, got upset, was screaming and yelling. I picked my son up to go and leave, and that's where it kind of ended. My son had started beating me up, and I picked my son was still in my arms. I tried to leave. I couldn't leave. He ended up breaking my nose, my eye socket, cracking my jaw. I had cauliflower ear. I had 7 broken ribs. I had a broken wrist, a crack in my forearm, a crack in my elbow. All of this while my oldest biological son was in my arms. My son got away and went to the neighbor, called my dad and my sister. My dad and my sister showed up. And my sister took my son to the neighbor, had my neighbor watch my son. He was attacking my dad at this point, and my sister went and helped my dad, and they detained him while they waited for the cops. My neighbor and my son were my neighbor was trying to keep my son out of the apartment, but she was also trying to check on me. Needless to say, I didn't know I was pregnant with my son, my youngest son, until I went to the hospital that day. In the process of them detaining my ex-husband, my sister had broke his nose. And then they found out that he was not only being abusive to me and my son, he's how my addiction started. I would be locked in closets. Instead of being fed food, I was fed meth. I ended up leaving him that night as he was arrested, and I went to the hospital. I had my dad and my mom and my sister and my brother and my neighbor at the time. They went and packed everything they could. I tried getting away. I ended up going back when I found out that I was pregnant with my youngest, which was a big mistake. I was with him up until from 2010 to 2016, off and on. After my youngest was born in 2015, I ended up leaving, got divorced in 2016. From there, I was homeless at times. I was still feeding my addiction. I got sober, I think, for about 6 years. And then after my mom passed in 2017, I ended up doing heroin, coke, LSD, acid. Ended up getting married for the second time to another man who was also abusive. And at this time, I had my youngest daughter, who is my ex-boyfriend's daughter. She called me mom, and it stuck. To everybody, I was her mom. Her mom was in jail. And I ended up losing her.
Hey, is her dad the guy that you're with, your second husband, or no?
No.
But
Her
you
dad, her dad died from a heroin OD in 2023.
okay.
And then after I was with him, before I got with my second husband, is when I met my oldest son's dad. And he was my best friend. He was in and out of jail. And his mom had passed a month after my mom had passed. And he was actually my brother's best friend. I took care of him like my own. He did things with my kids. He did stuff with me. Like, he was our little family. He was the one that kept us together. At this time, I had my own house. I was working 2 jobs. No, 3 jobs. I was working 3 jobs at the time to provide for me and my kids. At this time, right before I met my second husband, so I'll get to my second husband in a minute. Right before this, before I met my second husband, I had ended up relapsing again after my mom died. And I ended up moving someone who I thought was a friend into my house. And he would help me watch my kids while I worked. At this time, I wasn't very close to my family. I had kind of like drifted away because my kids and my addiction was what kept me going. Sorry, I'm gonna start crying, you guys.
It's okay to cry. This is a very emotional story.
So at this time, I had moved him into the house. Him and his friend, who was a friend of mine's son, Parker. His name was Parker, and then my friend. I don't want to mention my friend's name, but they shared my son's room, my boys' room, and my boys slept in my room. I was working a double shift, and I came home for lunch and to check on my kids. And I didn't know that my friend had invited his friend over. And they had basically got high in my kids' room before he left and before I got there. So when I got into the house, I told my friend that I was running low. I needed something to keep going. And he made the comment that he could help. Well, this is the first time that I shot up. Him and I went into the bathroom. I put cartoons on for my kids, and He freaked out trying to help me because I guess he missed or something. I don't know. He freaked out. Needless to say, I was over the toilet. I was picking up blood. I had blood coming from my nose. He locked me in the bathroom and he told my kids not to move, gave him a bag of Cheetos, changed the cartoon for him, and told him to leave mommy alone, that mommy was busy. I can't remember if it was an hour or 2 hours went by, and my son came banging on the door, and he couldn't get into the door. So I taught my son how to call 911 or call my dad, and they ended up calling my sister and my dad. And my sister and my dad took my kids, had them safe, and while I was detoxing on my friend's floor, they found out that I had it was meth, heroin, and rat poison. I detoxed for, I think, 10 days, 11 days, something like that. I can't remember. I was so mad because I thought my dad and my sister took my kids from me. And I knew I had screwed up, but I ended up getting a text from my friend, and he told me that he was mad because it didn't work. And what he meant, I didn't understand until a couple years ago. But I'm pretty sure that he knew what he was doing. He ended up going to jail. And that's when I met my second husband. At this time, I was doing things that my family doesn't even know about until probably today. I would do anything to get my next fix and to keep being able to provide for my kids. I was a functioning addict, I say. I was going to work. I was coming home, taking care of my kids. When I met my second husband didn't know what meth was. And that's when he introduced me to coke for the first time. And I told him that it wasn't working. I wasn't getting high off of it. I wanted something stronger. At this time, my adopted son, the one who passed away, him and my ex-husband were best friends. They were getting high together behind my back, didn't know about it. Until one night, I was so messed up, and I remember seeing him in my house, and I walked in on him and my ex-husband smoking. And what did I do? I joined in. Mind you, I never done anything around my two youngest boys, but I did my oldest boy. And I regret ever doing anything with my son, because he would be here today if I just ended my addiction.
Know that, babe. You don't know. Don't blame yourself. I know it's tough, and I know that people carry a lot of guilt and shame. I know I've heard Melinda talk about it, about, her, I shouldn't have name dropped her, but anyway, about her using with her children as well. And it's, I can imagine the guilt and shame, and especially with your son passing how he did. Like, I understand, but it's not your fault. You're an addict yourself. If he wanted it, girl, he's going to get it regardless.
Yeah. So
I think this is Justin. I think he's watching. I don't know who else would call you my girl. Can you see it? Little comment.
no.
Right? Oh, I put it on the screen. It says, "Hi, my girl," but just says Facebook user. Facebook doesn't tell me who it is unless if they go onto the Facebook page. But anyway, Doesn't matter. I just assume. I assume he's probably watching. So easy to blame ourselves, Serenity. Exactly.
So, I ended up. What did I? Where did I stop? Oh, we were getting high in the room, and at this time, I was still working my jobs, and that's when I met my oldest daughter. She's the one that started calling me mom. She didn't have a relationship with her parents, and I was like a mother figure to her, and she came into our life. So at this point, I have all 5 of my kids. My youngest daughter, I don't have any contact with anymore, but I was doing anything to get my next high, and by anything, I was selling anything I could get my hands on. It got to the point where I was even selling myself. And my ex-husband, when I met him, I thought he was the one. I really did. I thought he was the one. And I ended up introducing him to meth. And he introduced me to coke. At this time, shortly after that, I had lost my house, my jobs, everything. Everything had fallen downhill, and my kids, I lost my kids to the state of Colorado. My family they tried so hard. They tried so hard to get me off of the street and off of drugs. And I lost contact with my sister. My sister kind of disowned me. My dad disowned me. My mom, before she passed, she did kind of disowned me. My stepmom, she disowned me. And I felt alone. This was all in 2019. And so when I lost my kids, my sister tried taking them, my aunt tried taking them. And for some reason, my sister wasn't allowed to. And I just found out about 3-4 days ago that my first husband had a say. I remember my first husband telling the CPS workers that my sister did drugs, and my sister's never done drugs. And so that was the reason why my sister wasn't able to get my kids. So after that, in 2021, I thought it would be the best thing to sign my rights over to the state of Colorado. July 7th of 2021, I said goodbye to my 2 younger boys. At this time, me and my ex-husband were heavily on drugs. We were homeless, sleeping in alleys, sleeping in churches, by the river, in parks, trap houses, anywhere we could lay our head. Give me a minute. That year also started the year that me and my ex-husband would get into fights. Horrible, horrible fights, to the point where we would box with each other. If we didn't have what we needed to get us high, we were boxing. Fist for fist. I remember being thrown through a wall. I remember being those big Yeti bottles. I remember one getting thrown at me. I have a scar on one of my elbows from trying to block it. I remember running to my dad and my stepmom and my sister and my brother and telling them I would never do it again. I didn't want any more drugs. I didn't want to be with my ex-husband anymore. But I kept going back. I just kept returning, and I kept getting high, and I would hide it. I would try so hard to hide it, but I couldn't. My family knew. Um, my dad would know. He knew. He knew when I was getting high. Um, I ended up divorcing my ex-husband in 2023, and he was in ComCore at the time for some charges that he had picked up, one of them being domestic violence. And what did I end up doing? I got sober for about a year, and then this was 2023 is when he was in ComCore. So yeah, for almost a year is when I was sober and ended up going back. Um, I was still homeless, bouncing from place to place to place. And then in April of 2025, I told my dad that I did not want to get high anymore. And he said that he couldn't help me anymore. He's tried helping me as much as he could. That month, my sister ended up moving my sister and her boyfriend ended up moving my dad, my stepmom, my brother, and my brother's girlfriend to Nebraska. And I was told that they weren't going to help me until I got my shit together. And I said, okay. At this time, I had been in rehabs off and on 3 different times, and each time I left. This time, I was in there for, I think, 7 days. When I found out on May 1st that my oldest boy overdosed on meth and fentanyl. Um, I ended up leaving the facility and getting a taxi ride from the facility that I was at in Broomfield, and driving 8 hours in a taxi to get home, to find out that it was true that my son died. And I didn't have any family. I didn't have anybody. The only person I had to turn to was my ex-husband, and I ended up turning to him and the friends that I knew, and started using again. Um, on May 14th of 2025, I had just went and bought from where I was getting my stuff from, and I ended up getting back to the house that I was at, and I think I did a little bit, and then I just started bawling, and I dropped to my knees, and there's Psalms 147 popped into my head. It's my favorite Bible verse, and I asked God, I said, I want to go. I want to go with my son. I wanted to be with my son. I couldn't have any of my other kids. Um, At this time, my daughter said that she was going to disown me and she was going to take my grandkids from me. Um, my dad told me that if I didn't get my shit together, he was going to disown me for good. Um, that night on May 14th of 2025, I threw everything I had in the toilet and I walked away. I've moved from Colorado to Alabama to Mississippi to Oklahoma and to now with my family. I have a relationship with my sister and my dad and my stepmom, my brother. I have a job. I'm sober. I have an amazing relationship. And I'm trying to heal. But that is my story.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Mystic. I know that that had to be fucking hard. And I know that, on top of just the trauma of the whole story, the whole shebang, you're also, you're going through a lot of stuff right now too. So I really appreciate you, bunkering down because your story is so freaking powerful. Bugs over here showing you love on TikTok. Serenity's on love or on TikTok, giving you hearts and some, saying bless you. Tiff, you got some people watching, which really I don't have that many people usually watching the TikTok on, because they can't see you and stuff. So your story obviously is captivating people. So I really appreciate you sharing that and opening up and putting yourself takes bravery. Mike said, absolutely, that's a lot, and you've done freaking amazing. Yes, you're a warrior.
Well, I'm pretty sure my family's watching too.
Huh?
I said I'm pretty sure my family's watching upstairs too.
Are they?
It got
Awesome.
really quiet when I started.
It's okay. So we'll backtrack and I have a few questions. So when, hold on, let's see, where is it? So when the very first time when you had your friend that gave you the rat poison, pretty much, you feel like he did that on purpose, like he was trying to harm you? Yeah, me too. From just from the way you describe things.
Yeah, so I was detoxing on my friend's floor. My sister was taking care of my kids and her and my dad. And they had my phone and we had received a message on my phone saying that it sucked because it didn't work because they would have took my kids and my family next. So I'm pretty sure that my family turned him in. About a week later, 2 weeks later, I was still pretty messed up and still pretty out of it. But I was living in a tent, and my dad's camper and stuff were in the same trailer park. And they had went back to one of their cars that was in like little storage area, and they found a bunch of needles in a bag. And the only person that had ever been back there was him and a friend of his, checking another vehicle. So I don't know where the needles came from because I've never shot up. Mine was straight. I was always either smoking it or I guess we called it Scooby snacking, where you wrap it in toilet paper and then like eat it, or it went through my nose. That was my thing. So the first time that I ever shot it was with him, and we thought he was trying to set me up. There was a whole investigation, and he ended up going to jail. And then I think it was the following year, my dad was still living at the same place, and he ended up showing up and was staying. There was a motel, and then behind it was the RV park. And he was staying up in the motel area. And I ran into him, and I immediately froze in my tracks. I couldn't move. I couldn't, like, nothing. My dad had come out I think it was my dad, came out to smoke a cigarette and basically had to pull me back into the house. I think. I can't remember. My brain is so like scattered from that area because I don't remember much about it. But I remember them trying to get me away from him, and he ended up getting kicked out of that motel area. And I haven't spoke to him or seen him since. So yeah, I'm pretty sure he tried doing it on purpose.
So why though? Do you know you were letting him live there with you, right? I mean, just because he was tweaked out and or what? What do you think?
This is when fentanyl was actually introduced to the town that I was living in at the time, and so I'm pretty sure that it wasn't just meth and heroin and rat poison. I'm pretty sure there was fentanyl in there too, because, like I said, I don't remember much of this time, and the friend that was with him before I got home actually passed away in prison after he went to prison for giving somebody fentanyl. And that person had died. And when he went to prison, he actually died in prison. So I'm pretty sure that him and his friend were doing it on purpose.
What did the hospital say? Like when you showed up and you had rat poison in your system, like how did they have to pump your stomach or what? What happened? You shot it up, right? So
I don't remember much of the hospital. I remember detoxing. I don't remember if I went to the hospital or not. I remember waking up on my friend's floor, which was at the trailer park that my dad lived at. They were actually the managers of the trailer park. And it was my sister and her husband at the time. And then it was my friend and her husband and me. I was on the floor. But they said that I had large amounts of heroin, meth, and rat poison in my system.
That's
So
scary.
after that, I don't really remember much.
You could not be here right now, like very possibly. See, God, I definitely, or your higher power, whatever you believe, has a purpose for you. I mean, how could he not, right? Like, I know you're really struggling and you don't think it right now, but think about this story that you just told me, girl. For you to still be here, there's a freaking reason. There has to be no other explanation. So I want to back up a little bit more too. When your first husband, when the night the fight happened, when you that initially led to you finding out that you were pregnant, when he was attacking your dad. So after you went back to him, how did your family take that? After he pretty much attacked your dad, your sister had to fight him, broke his nose, all that. He goes to jail, and then you went back. How did they take that?
They did not like it. They did not like it at all. At this time, my family didn't want anything to do with me because I was still with him. And me having the heart that I do, I try not to look at the bad in people. He was the father of my kids. Like, I don't want anything to do with that man anymore. I am deathly terrified of that man. But the thing is at the time, he is the father of my kids. I wanted a relationship with him. I thought, hey, I could get him to change. Hey, I could fix him. It just got worse. My family didn't want anything to do with him. They didn't talk to him. They didn't try having a relationship with him. They didn't even want my son, either one of my boys, going near him or around him. And there's some other things about him that I don't want to go into detail about, because right now there is an ongoing case against him and my family for things that have happened, and yeah, I just don't want to talk about that anymore.
I want to talk a bit. Well, you tell me if this is something we can talk about because I wanted to ask questions about how you said he locked you in the closet and that he wouldn't give you food, that he gave you meth instead. I want to talk about a little bit like how did you cope with it? How did you get through, just by getting high and kind of just zoning out, or because I know that has to be
So, so when
mentally.
he, so when he was locking me in the closets, I had just gave birth. I think my son was like 2, maybe 1.5, 2. My son, my oldest biological boy, would go to my dad and my mom, my sister, and that would be the time where he would get mad, like he didn't want my son going to my dad's, and at that time he would beat me up like bad, and he would lock me in the closets. And me, I it was the only thing to eat. I was really skinny back then. And then, like, I wasn't really skinny. I had like the baby weight from having him. But to get through the day and the night and not feel hungry and want food, I would get high just to pass the time, because I knew if I didn't, and if he would open the door and he would find it, I would get hit. Um, like I am terrified of this man,
Like
and I
if you
still have
didn't
nightmares.
do it, you got abused, pretty much is what you're saying, right? If you
Yeah.
didn't. How can I'm so sorry, man. I'm so sorry. And no one knew, like your family, did they know? They didn't know it was this bad, right? Or did they?
They didn't know it was this bad, until when I finally left him, and I told them how bad it had gotten, and knowing what I know today about him, I wish I never went back, and I wish he would have went to jail. He went to jail for 2 years and then was on probation for a long time. And during the CPS case, he had actually lost all rights to our boys, but he tried so hard to have a relationship with me, to be anywhere near my family. He would show up on my dad's doorstep begging for a place to stay. And my dad having the heart that he does, and me having the heart that I do, at times my dad and my mom would let him stay, but they regretted it every time, because he either brought shit into the house and was using at the house around my family, or he would steal things from my family. My ex-husband stole things from my family. I have stole things, and I'm not proud of it, but I've tried to fix the relationships that I have broken. And my sobriety means so much to me now. And I see how much I have like lost out on during my addiction, and how much I've hurt people in my addiction, that it hurts me. Um, and I think that's why I'm so gung ho on trying to make myself better. Um, I'm always trying to find Celebrate Recovery. I was going to Celebrate Recovery nonstop, in the places that I've been. I was going back to church, and I ended up leaving Colorado to run away from my addiction, because I thought my life would get better. Which I ended up moving to a little town in Alabama, and then I moved to Mississippi. And I actually moved in with my ex-husband's father, and he sexually assaulted me. Um, and from there, I went to Oklahoma, and left Oklahoma, and now I'm here with my family.
On TikTok, Serenity said that in active addiction, in active addiction, our benchmark was low. We didn't know we were worth more. And I wanted to read that to you because you definitely are worth more, girl. I had no idea. Obviously, I knew a little bit about your story and kind of like where you came from and all the stuff, but I did not know that you've been through so much shit, man. Like, I am so freaking sorry. I really am. Sorry, I got kicked off of the. Okay, anyway. So I wanted to touch on something else really quick. Let me find out what it was. So when you caught your husband and your second husband and the son getting high together, did you know that your son was getting high already? Did you know that he was using, or was this did you learn it at the same time?
At that time, I did not know that he was getting high with my ex-husband. And I'm guessing that it was a month or two before this, before I caught them getting high together, is when he started getting high. The only thing that I knew he did at that time was drink and smoke weed. Because he drank and smoked with weed with me. That was his coping to numb his feelings of his mom passing. I did not know that he was numbing himself with other things until about a month or two after he had started. And me being so messed up at the time, I didn't even think twice to not. I let addiction run my life, and I ended up getting high with him.
It's all good. It's not all good, but like, you're not the only person that's ever done. I got high with my parents, and like my dad fucking loved me. Like, so I definitely can relate. Like I know this story is a little bit backwards, but like to yours. But I struggled to tell my story, my testimony, because well, we talked about this in women's group where I don't want to paint my dad in a bad light because I know that he loved and cared about me, but he did use with me a lot, like, and, ran from the cops with me and all of these things. So, I can understand like where you're coming from and kind of feeling like, I mean, not like completely, but I can kind of get it. I just want to say that Serenity said, I can care how much you care about your sobriety. And my friend Victor, still here, 91324, she said that he's so proud of you for coming as far as you have. And that's Mary. Mary just got here. So real quick, before we wrap up, we have about 10 minutes left, and I want to talk about some of the good. So let's talk about where you are today. I know you started this new job. You're in a great relationship, repairing. I know we touched on it briefly at the end. You're repairing stuff with your family. We have met Justin. He's really great, and he's come and seen. Even me has protected Mama Bear here. When you first start talking to him, I was like, just be super careful. Like we love you. But now I'm coming really to love and respect him. I can see how much that he cares about you, and so
Yeah.
I'm just talk about that. Let's talk about first. I'm going to talk about your family. Let's start kind of in order. So, how did you get back to building your relationship? I know that they had said that they were like done with you, kind of everybody disowned you, and you had to get your own shit together. And then your son passed away. So, is that kind of how it happened, or did they still say no until you continued?
So back in April, March, April area, I had told my family I didn't want to get high anymore. I wanted to be sober and I wanted to be happy. And I begged and begged and begged and begged and begged for help.
My friends are here.
And from there, I ended up going. Like I said, while I was in rehab, my sister moved everybody out here to where she's at, and I was told to finish rehab and then they would think about helping me. Well, when Joel died, I left. I relapsed that night when I got home, and on the 14th of May, I threw everything away. Today I'm 8 months and 8 days sober. I I broke down on my hands and knees, begging for help and begging. I was so mad because I thought God had taken my son from me, to get back at me for my addiction. And now that I look at it, whatever I could have done, it wouldn't have made a difference. It was his time, and it breaks my heart to say that, but it also puts me in a light where I feel like I got sober because of my son passing. It made me open my eyes even more. Shortly after that, I ended up going back to my town that I grew up in Colorado, and I was on the streets. And the deacon of my church, where I got married to my second husband, took me in. And my ex-father-in-law of my first husband invited me to go to Mississippi to restart my life. And I thought that was going to be the best thing ever, and it turned out not to be. Well, when I was in Mississippi, and after I had gotten sexually assaulted, I reached out to my dad and my family, and my dad has been through the ringer since July. He's had a heart attack. He's had a stroke. Um, he's doing the best he can, and taking care of himself. So I figured that I could move on, and I would find my way, as much as I could by myself. And I would talk to my family on a daily basis. Well, when I got to Oklahoma, I moved in with an amazing family, and I care about this family a lot. But at the time, it wasn't where I needed to be. Even though I was going back to church, and I had a one-on-one relationship with my dad again, it was not where I needed to be. I got kicked out of that house. And at the time I was with somebody, and we broke it off. And I begged my dad. I said, look, I said, this is what's going to happen. I said, I just got kicked out. Um, I don't know what to do. And I told my dad that if I ended up back in Colorado, I was either going to end up using again, or I was going to end up dead. And I begged my sister. I called my dad, said there was nothing he could do. Even though he wanted to help me as much as he could, there was nothing he could have done. And he told me that I needed to talk to my sister. And as much as I hated, my sister's younger than me, but my sister has everything going for her life. She doesn't own, she rents a very, very nice house. Her and her boyfriend both have cars of their own. They both work. She's a manager at the donut shop. She's having the life that I wish I had. And she said that I could be here, but I could only be here for a month. And the night after I had called her is when they showed up to pick me up from Oklahoma. And when I got here, they basically laid some ground rules. And since then, I feel like I'm building a relationship with my sister. I let my sister tattoo me. I hung out with her today at the donut shop. I've proved to them that I could get a job. I'm still sober. But I know for a fact my family is watching every little thing that I do, because they don't want me to be the old me. And I don't want to show them that I can go back to that. I want to prove to them that I can, and I am worth something. That I can stay sober and that I can rebuild my life. Having them as support is one of the biggest things. One of the biggest things for me is because I get to have a relationship with my sister, and I never had that. I've hurt my sister to the point where I didn't think she would ever forgive me, and she probably still doesn't forgive me, but I know that she understands. Um, and I know for a fact that if I prove to her that I'm not who I was before, I can rebuild that friendship and that bond with my sister.
And I'm so building these relationships, and I know that they're watching you, and that kind of sucks, but like rightfully so. You know what I mean? Like they have the right to, and like just show them. They're giving you the chance to show them, so it's just up to you to do the work and show them. Mystic, thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your journey with us today. We can always have you back for a part 2. I feel like we're kind of cutting this off, you know what I mean? And I'm really, really apologize, but everyone's getting here now. We've got to get on to the event. It's been an hour anyways, and I usually keep the podcast episodes to an hour. So feel free to reach out to me, send me a message, because I'll freaking forget, and we'll schedule a part 2 and we'll have you back. And then by that time, it'll be cool because we'll get to have like a little update on, obviously I'll already know, but like, we'll get to have all your favorites out here to know how you're doing and, in a little bit. So I love you so much. Thank you for sharing. Like I said, this was a very, very powerful story. People in the chat showing all kind of love. Thank you. I love you, girl. I'm going to close out, and I'll probably be seeing you shortly.
Tell everybody I said hi.
I will. Bye.
I really feel it's my time, think it's my year, yeah. I really feel it's my time, think it's my year, yeah. I really feel it's my time, think it's my year, yeah. I really feel it's my time, think it's my been ready. Used to hold myself back, my self-esteem been bad.